Every single hook in this video is something that we have tested and I can confirm is a winner. So most media buyers and creative strategists think that you need to state your problem right away or even show your product or service within the first 5 seconds of the video to accurately target it to your consumers. However, with the rise of Meta's new algorithm that they call Andromeda, this is actually changing quite a bit. And now in order to be truly scalable, you need to make content that targets and converts users that are a lot higher up in the funnel. So my teams have tested like almost over 5,000 ads this year alone, and these are the ones that are converting today on Meta ads. Let's dive into the first one. I actually already used it on you when you clicked on this video, and that is going to be the investment hook. So these hooks essentially explain the investment, meaning time or money, that it took for someone to find the solution to their problem, which is going to be your product or service. Now, the best way to find these investments is to upload a CSV of all of your customer reviews and search for the failed attempts that a user went before they found your product or service. And this type of hook is going to do two things. Number one, it's going to target the right users on Meta ads who also had those same previous failed attempts. And the second thing, it's going to create a lot of trust with the customer, because if they know the creator or the brand's investment, they actually inherently trust the product and service a lot more, especially if their journey is also mimicking this. Now, some of my best ad inspiration lately has not been coming from Foreplay or the ads library, but instead has been coming from YouTube, specifically the title and thumbnail combination, as well as looking at what type of content is really picking up speed on TikTok Shop. Those TikTok Shop creators are crazy good at direct response marketing. These investment hooks are an absolute must test. I actually try them out almost every single time I'm onboarding a client because they have such a high hit rate. But this next hook that I'm going to show you guys has actually become the top performing and spending ad in several accounts recently. Candidly, I almost don't want to share it. And that is going to be the scam hook. Now, the word scam is probably one of the best visceral trigger words that you can use in your advertising today. It really stops you in your tracks, for better or worse. And the reason why it boils down to two key factors. Number one, you're going to be triggering loss aversion. Seeing the word scam generates these feelings that you're afraid of being cheated on or that you're being taken advantage of. And our brain wants to resolve whether or not we're at risk. And number two, it also creates a great curiosity. So if you say, I thought this was a scam, it creates this unresolved tension for the users, and they can't help but figure out why it wasn't a scam. This is one of those hooks that is candidly so easy to test out that you could probably get your teams to do it tomorrow. Just do an iteration on a top performing video. However, I'm going to be honest, none of these hooks in this video are really going to do anything unless you understand this next key point, which is the true hook structure. Your hook is actually these 4 things that are happening within the first 3 seconds of any piece of video content. Number 1, the text overlay hook. Number 2, the sound hook. Number 3, the visual hook. And then number 4 is the vibe of the hook, right? This is something that I actually learned from Callaway. So this is going to be the combination of the lighting, the text overlay font choices, just like the overall vibe of it. Now, something that I will say is when we are talking about these hooks, in general, we are talking about the verbal hooks or the text overlay hooks. Now, I've actually found that by changing the visual hook, this actually tends to have a bigger impact on performance than the text overlay hook or the verbal hook. Essentially, the best hooks show, they don't tell. So I've partnered with Storyblocks to actually show you some of my favorite strategies for injecting those visual hooks that really get people to stop. And with these, you can instantly implement them without having to fumble through extra software. It is literally just as easy as signing up for Storyblocks and downloading the video clip. Number 1, any type of drip content, especially if you can have the drip just like hanging on for dear life. And then the squeeze. Now, sometimes I actually like to speed this up and then also reverse it. And the third one is the abstract surreal art clips. I found that this is really good, especially if you're talking about something that's highly emotional. And then the last one are explosion clips. And I particularly like these fruit explosion clips. Now, what I will say is I've actually found that it's slightly better to use these explosion hooks after your initial first hook. So something that we talked about in my previous video on hooks, the multiple hook is something that I see working really, really well. And a really cool way that you could do that is to choose one of the hooks from this video and then also pair it with an explosion hook. That tends to really keep people hanging on for the rest of that video. Storyblocks has millions of instant video clips, images, and templates that don't feel like AI, and they are, of course, 100% legal for commercial use, even in ads, unlike some AI tools, unfortunately. And candidly, even if you get one winning ad, the subscription is going to pay for itself multiple times over. To get unlimited downloads at one flat rate, check out storyblocks.com/DaraDenny. And this next hook is another one that I learned from YouTube, again, taking inspiration from titles and alls. I have really been getting a lot of great inspiration from YouTube lately. Hint, hint. And that is the give me time hooks. This one actually resulted in a top performer / spender for a brand recently, and I've seen it work pretty well across multiple industries. And essentially what you're doing here is you're asking for an upfront time commitment to either entertain or educate someone. And what I really love about these is that users tend to inherently commit a lot more time to these videos, which results in a lot higher hook and hold rates. And number 5, POV you hate X. Now, a really interesting statistic that I discovered was when I was analyzing all the top performing creative from all of these ad accounts, something like 10 to 15% of all of them had the phrase POV in it. And because of this now, this is something that we're really starting to test in almost every single round of initial video creative. We always make sure we have one of these POV ads in there essentially. And now pairing that with the word hate is also really smart because that is a really, really powerful trigger word. But even a simple I hate XYZ has worked really well for a number of brands that I work with too. Which brings me to our next few hooks. These are actually going to be the best hooks that I've seen with both partnership ads as well as founders ads content, because this is the type of content that I really see moving the needle across the board, across all industries. Essentially, both of these strategies are must tests in the ad account, which is why I wanted to include them specifically. So for founders content, I would make sure that you are always testing your round of founders content with these few hooks. Number 1, explain why you built this company from the get. Again, this is very often going to show the multiple failed attempts that someone went through to eventually realize that they themselves needed to create this product, which is probably going to mimic a lot of your customers' journey. Another one is kind of controversial. I actually highly recommend that you always include a hook that has the founder introducing themselves and that they are the founder of the brand. This is one that actually I've heard a lot of marketing gurus say that you need to avoid because no one cares. But every time I end up testing this one, it often will become a top performer because again, I feel like initially it doesn't feel like an ad. It feels a lot more like that organic founder style content. And I've noticed, especially in the US, we really champion entrepreneurs. They are like rock stars to us in many ways, which is why when we see someone else on this entrepreneurial journey, we tend to listen in, especially if they're someone that is aspirational to us or someone who reminds us a little bit of ourselves. Another thing I'll say too is make sure that you have the name and that they're the founder in text overlay. This is something I've actually split test a lot, and I find that it almost always outperforms not having it. Now, I do have an entire video that breaks down exactly how you can approach founders ads content, even if you're not super comfortable on camera. I even give a full script that you can Mad Lib that has resulted in tons of revenue for brands, even ones that are just starting off. So be sure to take a look at that video. And next up, partnership ads. Now, partnership ads are my number 1 suggestion for brands this year to make sure that they really have on lock, because this is the thing that is separating brands that are scaling and thriving with Meta and the ones that are playing it on hard mode. And the great thing is too, is that you can do partnership ads for free. You can run it with your founders content. You can make your own publications. There are many different ways for you to utilize partnership ads, but it is imperative that you do so. However, if you want to start investing in creator content, which ultimately should be your goal in the long term, these are the type of hooks that I see work really, really well. And the first one is actually in action hooks. So if you're working with a creator, be sure to put them in the action of their everyday. So have them doing an activity, have them getting in the car. What I've really noticed is that it doesn't signal an ad if you have them making similar to their organic style content. And this is a really great way to have your product or service fit in a little bit more seamlessly to their everyday, which will make it a much better partnership than them just doing an ad read. And number 8 is the emotional hook. I was gonna try and cry for this one, but I just don't have it in me. I'm sorry. Now, these ads really work because they create a huge emotional cliffhanger. Candidly, strong reactions from others tend to result in a really strong reaction to another person, which will often hook people into watching your video because they want to figure out what's going on. So things like, people are mad at me because, or why did I start crying when? These are actually really big trends that I saw on organic social that I've translated really well to creative that converts on Meta. And hook number 9 is the why did no one tell me hook. Now, this hook creates cognitive dissonance and is essentially suggesting or implying that the audience also might be being misled by something. So of course, this gap forces our brains to lock in so that we can resolve that tension. Another thing too is this also positions the creator as the authority. So again, if you have found that authority angles work really well in your ad account, but you can't always work with, a big creator or influencer or professional, even working with a creator that says a hook like this can often be just as impactful. These really feel like you're accessing insider knowledge. And number 10 is the if you hook. Essentially, this is going to shortcut your targeting on Meta because it's triggering the tribal identity, right? If you're saying if you're over 40 or if you're someone who hates, it instantly makes people self-select into a group. I would try doing this in terms of demographic angles as well as those from more of a problem solution orientation. And that's it. I am super curious to hear which hooks you guys are going to try out next. And if you guys end up testing any of these, let me know. My food's here. I gotta go. Love you. Bye.